Top 5 strategies for turning ADHD into a productivity superpower. Many people think that having ADHD means you're going to fail in school, in business, in work, in side projects, in art, and all the things you want to do because you can't pay attention. I disagree. I think if you use these 5 tips, your ADHD will actually make you more productive than the average person. The first and most important tip is going to be switching tasks. People with ADHD oftentimes have a hyper focus on a specific task. And when they're hyper focused on that specific task, they're able to get so much more done than the average person. They're able to get a super large amount of work done in what would normally take 4 hours. They could get it done in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The problem is this hyper focus doesn't actually help you if you can't use it when you want to. And oftentimes you'll hyper focus on something that's irrelevant. You'll hyper focus on something that means taking out the dishes or, walking the dog. But you need to hyper focus on your homework or your schoolwork. So how do you do that? What I'd recommend is switching tasks as soon as you feel like you're done and you get a little inkling of boredom. So if you're working on something that requires a lot of productivity, maybe you're writing out an essay and you feel like you can get through 3, 4, 5 paragraphs at a lightning pace, and then you start to hit a wall. Most people think that they need to push through this wall in order to get more productivity. If you have ADHD, I would argue don't do that. Switch to a completely different task. It doesn't have to be something completely unproductive. It could be something like your other homework. If you have like 3 or 4 tasks that you can switch between, when you get bored of one, go back to the next. And when you get bored of that one, go to the next one. And then when you get bored of that one, by the time you go back to the first one, which was your essay, you'll be refreshed and you'll have more energy to hyper focus on it and attack it again. So if you use that hyper focus and switch when you feel tired, steer it towards the things you feel productive, you get way more done. Tip number 2, let's talk about the 70% rule. It may feel like it's all or nothing if you have to turn in an assignment or a project or something that you've been working on. And if you can't do it 100%, you might as well just get a 0. And if you're in school, that's a terrible idea because getting a 50% is way, 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 way better than getting a 0. Because with a 50%, at least you have some points on the board. You need a lot more points to average at a 0 than you do to average at a 50%. But it's not the 50% rule, it's the 70% rule. Because I suggest just get it 70% done to where you'll get like a C minus, and that'll be enough. And oftentimes you'll find out that by the time you get it 70% done, it doesn't take much more work to get it to an 85. And more often than not, you'll walk away with a more complete project than you thought you would. But if you feel like you have to do it all 100% or nothing at all, it's not going to work. One of the things that really changed the game for me in my academic career was when I decided to just turn things in. No matter when it was due, no matter if I had something else on my plate, no matter if I could only get like a handful of these questions written down, turn something in. Because more often than not, you'll actually end up getting credit. True story, I actually turned in the wrong assignment one time and I still got like a few points. Now, I needed to turn in the correct assignment and get it all worked out, but had I just not submitted it at all, those extra points wouldn't have gotten there. And truthfully, if you're playing the academic game, those extra points add up at the end of the semester when you need a percent here or there. Your teachers and professors are going to be so much more likely to give you, a little bit of extra credit or help you out with a study plan or just make something happen to where you'll pass the class if you turn in every single assignment. But if you go 100% on a few assignments and then miss a bunch of them, the professor is going to look at this and be like, what are you doing? So that strategy as well, because in addition to just getting some points, you're buying yourself some credit because you actually did the work and even if it's like a bad assignment, if you turn it in, if it shows like you're trying, that's really what people care about. Get your assignments just 70% done, and I promise you will thank yourself later. The next and honestly most important tip that I would say is taking micro breaks. This one is super awesome, but it can also be super dangerous, so be careful. And the reason why I say it can be dangerous is because your micro break can turn into a complete rabbit hole that you go down and completely get distracted. So if you have some sort of limiting factor on it, that would help a lot. But let's say you just need to work on one assignment. You have an essay that's due tonight. You don't have 3 or 4 tasks you can switch between because everything else is done. You have one thing you need to hyper focus on. It's not like the thing that you enjoy doing that you can hyper focus on for a while. So I recommend going at the assignment as hard as you can for as long as you can, whether that's one page, whether that's one paragraph, whether that's one sentence. Get as much done as you possibly can, and then take a micro break. For me, I like to play the game Clash Royale. The games are 3 minutes, and I play 1, maybe 2 games if I need a break, and then I get right back to the assignment. And sometimes you can only squeeze out another extra paragraph or one more question. But if you can do a single question and then take a 3-minute break, then do a single question and then take a 3-minute break, and then do a single question and take a 3-minute break. It seems like you're taking a lot of breaks, which you actually are, but at the end of the day, you're still making slow and consistent progress that not working on it at all wouldn't have provided. And if you combine it with the 70% rule, if you take some micro breaks, if you get 70% of it done, yeah, it feels like you're just kind of skating by. But at the end of the day, you're going to have some assignments that you knock out of the park that you do 100% on. So taking those micro breaks and just getting 70% of the assignment done is worlds better than just taking the L. Number 4, speech to text in Google Docs. This is a crucial tip, especially if you're not that good at typing. Even if you are good at typing, one thing you can do is you can take your phone, you can open up a Google Doc, you can start doing speech to text in your phone while having the same document open on your computer. Then you can edit it with your keyboard and mouse as you're doing speech to text and you're typing. If you only have one device, you can hit Control Shift S, and if you have a microphone on your computer, you'll be able to talk and write your own essays for you. And I don't know about you, but I can talk for a really, 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 really long time. And it's much easier to edit a big wall of text than it is to start with a blank document. So if I have an assignment about writing something, I'll sit there with my microphone and I'll just start talking into the microphone. I'll try to add periods. I'll try to make some consistent ideas because the less editing I have to do, the better. But at the end of the day, if I have a wall of garbage text, A, I have a 70% assignment that I could turn in. But B, you go through and edit that thing. By the time you're done, you're like 90%. And 90% is good enough. That's an A. So I would definitely recommend using speech to text because that's a way to really get done a lot of work, a lot of the hard, like, you just got to get something out there work, and then go back and edit it later. If you made it to this far in the video, I appreciate you. You can support further with YouTube stuff down below. But tip number 5 is going to be audiobooks. Why do I say audiobooks? Because you can do audiobooks while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving, while you're playing video games, while you're doing anything else that you can have headphones on. For the most part, you can be listening to audiobooks. Oftentimes your textbooks, if you don't have an audiobook version of it, you can get the PDF version and open it in Microsoft Edge. I know Microsoft Edge, whatever. But Microsoft Edge has a feature where you can hit speech to text, and so it will read it out to you line by line. I've gotten through so many boring textbooks by having it read to me by Microsoft Edge while I was doing something else on my computer. Super awesome productivity hack. Then, when it comes to just normal audiobooks, if you're looking for something to do and you really just want to grow your knowledge in general, audiobooks are the best because you can passively be putting information in the background. And I can't tell you how many times there's been something I've listened to in a podcast or an audiobook, and 3 months, a year later, I'm like, oh yeah, this is something I heard about, and it was really cool to have that knowledge. And the only reason I had that is because while I was driving, instead of listening to music, I decided to listen to an audiobook. Those are my top 5 hacks for productivity. If you like this kind of content, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking to the end. Don't forget, drink kombucha. It's good for your tummy, makes you feel better. If you want to support the channel, YouTube stuff down below, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing the videos. Peace.